What's up guys, CBK here bringing you another Marvel Spider-Man 2 video, and if you don't know already, it's pretty much the only thing I talk about on my channel, so if that sounds good to you, then be sure to subscribe. In today's video, we're going to be talking about villains I would like to see return in the sequel to Spider-Man PS4, and some of them are villains we know are already established within the universe that Insomniac has made. They may already have a history with Spider-Man, but perhaps we haven't gotten to see them just yet. So with that being said, let's go ahead and swing on into the video. Okay, so the first villain up on my list is a returning character from Spider-Man PS4 and one that was heavily involved in the City That Never Sleeps DLC. That character being Wraith. I must admit, I didn't know much about the character Wraith until I did some research after playing Spider-Man PS4. If you don't know already, Yuri becomes the anti-hero known as Wraith after she loses her faith in the law. She believes that the only way to keep criminals from returning to crime is to completely take them out by killing them. This ideology obviously is the opposite of Spider-Man's and creates a conflict between the two characters. In the City That Never Sleeps DLC, Yuri really takes a dark turn after one of her officers dies, and she actually tries to kill Hammerhead as opposed to attempting to lock him up. I believe that there is no doubt that Insomniac set up this storyline with the purpose of using it in the sequel. It's possible she isn't necessarily a villain in this game, but is just an anti-hero, but regardless, I could still see her and Peter butting heads in this game. I'd love to see her return. Okay, the next villain up on my wish list isn't a villain that we've seen yet, but has a history with Peter Parker within this universe, and it's none other than Mysterio. Listen, there's absolutely no reason why this would make sense from a story perspective. I have absolutely no idea how he could fit into a story like this, but he's my favorite Spider-Man villain, and I selfishly just want to see him in the game. Maybe they could squeeze him in as a role similar to the one that they gave Shocker in the first game. Shocker had a very tiny role in the first game, but we got to experience a cool chase sequence with him and a boss battle. If we can get something like that with Mysterio in this game, I'll be happy. Or perhaps Mysterio could be the opening mission or boss battle for this game, just to get us started. I'm really hopeful that some of the leaks regarding Mysterio's appearance in this game are true. Okay, so next up on my wish list we have Dr. Otto Octavius. Hear me out though, I don't want him to return in this game with his tentacles as he breaks out of prison. I envision a much smaller appearance but with a large impact. I made a video on my channel called Doc Ock's Return that you should totally check out if you hadn't had a chance to already, but essentially I wanted an encounter or conversation between Peter and Otto in this game. My hope is that Peter goes to make a visit to Otto on the raft during this game. During this visit, I would imagine a cutscene filled with a lot of tension. Don't forget, Otto does know Peter's secret. He could easily expose his identity. From there, I would imagine a conversation where Peter is trying to figure out where Otto's head is at nowadays. Is he still that villainous guy that we last saw him at? Or maybe he's just returned to his normal state of mind since he's had the technology that was controlling him removed. I could see Peter and Otto kind of getting into it a little bit. Maybe Otto goes on to tell Peter how he is in this situation because he was betrayed by his one friend. From there, Peter lets him know that he put himself in this situation. His selfish desires led him to be where he is, and his actions inevitably led to the death of many, including his Aunt May. And this is where things could get a little bit more emotional, with Peter telling him how much he meant to him and how much he looked up to him. After they have their little moment, Peter would go on to tell Otto that he needs his help. He needs his help perfecting and finishing what they started with creating the functional robotic limbs. Peter could go on to explain his situation and what he's up against. Fighting against Venom, of course. From there, they work together by discussing ideas to create the Iron Spider-like arms that we saw in the first trailer. It's definitely an out there theory, but I'm hoping that if Otto were to return, it'd be in a small role like this one. So the next villain up on my wish list is again a returning villain in this universe, but not one that we have seen personally, and that villain is the Lizard. Dr. Connors was actually teased in the post-credit scene for Spider-Man Miles Morales. Hopefully you guys stuck around to see that. The Lizard had multiple Easter eggs in the first game, and we already know that he exists within this universe. I'm dying to fight against him. I think that without a doubt, the best storyline for Lizard in this game is for him to try to turn everyone in New York to lizards. Okay, not really. But I don't want Lizard to be a major part of this story. It would just be cool to have a run-in with him at some point during the game. Maybe Spider-Man is doing some sort of investigative work at Norman's lab and he runs into Dr. Connors there. That could lead into a pretty cool boss battle. I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas, but let me know what you guys think about that one. So next up we have a character that was in the first game and I believe was set up to become a future villain, and that would be none other than Morbius the Living Vampire. I'm sure all of the hardcore Spider-Man fans know this already, but for those who don't, Morgan Michaels is the alias name of Michael Morbius. He's one of the scientists who helped develop Devil's Breath according to files in Norman Osborn's apartment. Michaels has been the Osborn family doctor for decades, and he was responsible for prescribing experimental treatments for Emily Osborn in 1997. So just to throw a theory out there, what if Michaels or Morbius became infected or transformed into this living vampire by working on these dangerous cures? It's just a theory that I thought I'd throw out there. But regardless of how it's done, I think Morbius is the perfect character to base a DLC story off of. It would actually be pretty cool if the story almost had like a detective feel. Have Spider-Man trying to solve this mystery of what creature is going around and sucking the blood of people. He could go around trying to pick up and put together clues for this mystery until he actually meets Morbius. I'm a really big fan of Morbius, and it'd be so cool to see a good adaptation of the character within this universe. So guys, that's gonna do it for my list of villains I would like to see return in Marvel Spider-Man 2. I'd love to know your thoughts on what villains you would like to see in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe. According to my analytics, only about a fourth of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. I'd love to get that number higher. But thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.